9:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning. My name is Chris Hand. Mac Maury is my producer. Ken Weaver is in the newsroom. And today, my friends, is all about you. It's Agenda Free Friday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. This is what we do. Every Friday, we come in with no agenda at all. And we let you decide where the conversation goes. I mean, this is only the fourth time that we've done Agenda Free Friday. And so far, we've covered a myriad of topics on Fridays.
Oh, yeah.
From George Washington's body doubles. We had a history professor call in and
Loved
confirm that George Washington had body doubles. We've embarked down the rabbit hole of Fetterman clone talk. And we've waffled on it, too. We went to, it's a clone, to no, it's not a clone, to maybe it's a clone.
Yeah, because we had that super texter say, what if it's just a really good clone? And it completely, yes.
Flip the script. All right, so it is Agenda Free Friday. I had an epiphany last night. Do you remember when we were talking about iPhone batteries and they do the thing where it's like, to optimize charging, we're going to wait to start charging at 3 a.m.?
Yes.
And you made the comment that this is what I'm doing last night. Like this is like 12:30 at night. I'm laying in bed. I'm calling Mac out on this. You made the comment that they're saving my battery by waiting to finish the charging.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm laying in bed last night. I'm like, why don't they just stop it when it's 100%? If they can stop the charging at any time, just stop it at 100%. Why are you going to stop me at 75 and then wait till 3 a.m. to kick it back up?
It's a good point.
Mind blown, right?
That's pretty good. Talk about flipping the script. That's pretty good.
This is what we do on Agenda Free Friday. We question the narrative. We tackle the hard issues, and we question the common narratives around a myriad of subjects. So, like I said, we just went from Washington clones or body doubles to Fetterman clones to iPhone batteries conspiracies. And anything you want to talk about, the phone lines are open. 615-737-9986. Also, you can text us, 615-737-9986. There are some pretty crazy stories today. Joe Biden went to the border. Well, no, he didn't. He didn't go to the border. He went to a border state, Arizona. This is his second trip to Arizona and the second time that he hasn't gone to the border. Incredible, right?
So he still hasn't been, right?
Not that I know of.
Wow.
The last time he went to the Grand Canyon and he was at the Grand Canyon, everybody was like walking near him because they thought he was going to fall.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He made that joke. He made the joke, don't jump.
Didn't land.
No, it didn't land. But you know what he did? You know what he did yesterday? He made the same joke. Oh, give me some audio.
Oh, I didn't see you all up there. Whoa! Don't jump! Don't jump!
Don't jump! Don't jump. Yep. So don't jump. So the man goes to the border twice, the border state of Arizona twice in a couple months, and both times where he's down at the Grand Canyon, he says don't jump, and then he's over he's over in Arizona yesterday, and he makes the exact same joke. Don't jump. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Don't jump. The man is so out of touch. He doesn't go and visit the border. He doesn't address the crisis that's happening on the border. No, he makes bad jokes about don't jump. But you can't blame the man. He's losing his mental faculties. He tried to do the thing where he says, we're all endowed. We all view these rights to be self-evident. You know the thing.
We're founded on idea. The only major nation in the world founded on an idea. An idea. That we are all created equal. Endowed in the image of God. Endowed by our Creator to be able to treat it equally throughout our lives.
Ah, yes. We all remember that saying. Biden is losing his mind. There are chances that he never even had it. And then at one point during this speech in Arizona, his own side starts heckling him. He starts getting heckled by climate activists. Why don't you say it's a climate emergency. Declare a climate emergency.
It's not easy.
Why have you yet to declare a climate emergency? Hundreds of Arizonans have died. Hundreds of Arizonans have died.
Why don't you wait after? Hang on a second. I'll be happy to meet with you after I speak, okay?
Promise no new drilling on fossil fuels. Why have you yet to declare a climate emergency? Not practically, but actually.
So everybody's yelling, declare a climate emergency. Why haven't you?
Well, I tell you what, if you shush up, I'll meet with you immediately after this, okay?
Jack.
If you shush up.
I mean, Jax.
Yeah, it probably is a Jax. You probably nailed it. Chances are he had a man bun and he was probably wearing. Unbelievable, right? Well, if you shush up a moment.
Yeah. Do you realize what would happen if former President Trump would have done something like that?
It would be.
That would have been top story.
Breaking now.
Shushing the media.
President Trump verbally assaults climate protesters.
Yeah.
President Trump can't take the heat.
Yeah.
As climate protesters descend on President Trump in Arizona, asking him why hundreds of Arizonans have died.
Oh.
He can't take the criticism. Breaking now. You're absolutely right. But Man Bun Barry over here, Jax, he just gets told to shush up. I'll meet with you after.
Oh.
I tell you what, if you shush up, I'll meet with you immediately after this, okay?
Okay. Thank you, sir. Unbelievable. We have all this audio from Joe Biden in Arizona, and it gets worse, believe it or not. But today's an agenda-free Friday, which means we can talk about whatever you want to talk about at 615-737-9986. Jeremiah is sitting on I-70, and the call screen says that you have a weird thought, Jeremiah, so I had to go to you first. What is your weird thought? You're on Super Talk, man.
Chris,
What's up?
Han, think about this. Let's let Trump go to the third party so that the minor leaguers can fight it over for the RNC position. So we have a double chance of beating the Democrats that way. You can vote for Trump for the third party or DeSantis or the other guys that are trying to do a pitiful job of doing some debating the last time.
I'll tell you why I don't like that, and thank you for the call, Jeremiah. It is a good thought, and there were rumbles that he would start a third party, the MAGA party, a while back, and I'll explain why I don't like that. First, if we do have a third party candidate, I want it to be RFK Jr. because I think that he will steal more from Biden than they'll steal from conservatives. I think that it's more of a net benefit for RFK Jr. to be a third party candidate. As far as Trump, he's light years ahead of everyone on the RNC side. Light years ahead. And a lot of those people are rhinos and plants. The only one on that debate stage the other night that I really thought was genuine and actually himself is Burgum. Plain and simple. And I don't think that we want to give the Republican Party back. I don't think that that's a good move. And I think if Trump goes third party, it's like we're conceding the Republican Party. And who are we conceding it to? Well, we're conceding it to the neocons and the establishment guys that we don't want in there. And these guys are in there. You look at Kevin McCarthy. It broke the other day that Kevin McCarthy and the guys on Kevin's team were reaching out to memers on the internet to smear Matt Gaetz. This is the new Republican Party, right? Like the new Republican Party is against the establishment, and the old Republican Party, the establishment neocon guys like McCarthy, are out there trying to bribe the memers to turn against the MAGA Republicans, and luckily it doesn't work. Now this is crazy. The McCarthy team was reaching out to influencers, and they reached out to a ton. They reached out to guys like Gunther Eagleman, DC Drano, Juanita Broderick. They reached out to the account I Meme, Therefore I Am. They reached out to the Citizen Free Press. And all of these guys are posting the receipts and the screenshots on Twitter. And it says, hey there, got an advocacy campaign with a budget. Do you do paid posts? If so, how do you work? By the way, the issue is against Gates and government shutdown. Let me know ASAP. Luckily, all these memers said, yeah, hard pass. Hard pass. And I think that this is what scares the establishment Republicans the most, is that we're not motivated by money anymore. We're not motivated by anything other than doing the right thing. And a lot of these memers are the exact same way. They can't be bought. But guys like Kevin McCarthy, guys like Chris Christie, guys like, go down the line. Mike Pence, whoever else was on the GOP debate, Nikki Haley, I have a hard time believing that any of them can't be bought. They all seem like they are for sale. And if they're for sale, America's for sale. And I think that if we can see the Republican Party by having Trump go third string, it ain't going to fly. It just doesn't work. So that's my thoughts on that. Sorry to go off on a tirade. But the fact that McCarthy reached out to a bunch of memers to try and get them to turn against Gates really, what does Brian say? Put a bee in my bonnet?
Yeah, put a bee in my bonnet.
I had a bee in my bonnet.
No, you're not going to go farm for McCarthy.
Who would do that?
It's crazy.
It's so slimy. And the people on McCarthy's team have such an ego and hubris to them that they literally think that not only can they be bought, but that it's a good idea and that nobody's going to call them out on their BS. And of course, there are probably some grifters out there that took the check. There are. So I would be very weary of any memer out there that is anti-Gates and pro-McCarthy over the last couple days, because chances are they got a check. Money talks. And in this Biden economy, I almost can't even blame some of these memers for taking the money, but it's crazy. The political landscape out there right now is crazy. You have Kevin McCarthy's team reaching out to conservative influencers and memers, offering them money to turn on Matt Gaetz. So no, I don't want Trump to go third party. I don't want to give the Republican Party back. It's ours now. It is. And when you see Kevin McCarthy and his team offering to pay the memers, you should just feel emboldened and empowered that this is ours. They literally are trying to buy it back. And to that I say good, because it's not for sale. Keith on line 4, you have a question or comment about the government shutdown. What's up, Keith? You're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, sir. Is this Chris Hand?
Yes, sir. What's up?
Yes, sir. I love your show.
Thank you.
Great addiction. It was Dan that asked the question of how this upcoming government shutdown would affect people. When the past one affected me, it enraged me. My second mother, who has passed away, but at the time, that government was shut down, I believe, during Obama, if I'm not correct. But her husband died, who served in the Korean War in Vietnam, did not get a military funeral, no 21 gun salute. And
Sorry to
that
hear
was.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, I just don't want anything like that to happen the next one. I hope they can find a way to avoid it, but I don't think that will.
No, I mean, it's looking like it's looking more and more like there is no avoiding it, and that it will be shut down. And to that, I'd say, the blame is on everybody. They knew this date was coming for a long, long time. They chose to go on vacation. They chose to kick the can down the road. They even chose to have the impeachment inquiry hearing yesterday when they could have been closing the doors, bunkering down, and trying to fix this. But they don't want to fix it. Is my opinion. They don't really care about the average American. They care more about the citizens of Ukraine, and they want to get that funding handled. Russ in Ashland City, you have a comment on the Electoral College on this Agenda Free Friday. What's up, Russ?
On the electoral college, just a question: is it a majority or a certain number? Because would a third party mess up the electoral college count, or is it just a majority on the electoral college that names the president?
That's interesting. Yeah, because would you be able to reach the what is it, 270 something that you need for electoral college votes if there was a third party candidate? That's actually an interesting take. I don't know if you could reach that threshold if there was a third party candidate, but that would also you'd have to assume that third party candidate is winning states. And that and that would be so my thoughts on RFK Jr. is that in those swing states like Arizona, Pennsylvania, you know what I mean? Those big states, he would pull enough away from Biden where it would hand the win to Trump, which in turn would give the electoral college votes to Trump. I don't know what would happen if a third party candidate started taking those electoral college votes for their own. That's an interesting take and something that I'm going to look into during the break, and I appreciate the thought. This is what thanks for the call, Russ. This is what I love about Agenda Free Friday. The thought-provoking stuff and the angles that I haven't even thought of. That's a great point. But that would honestly hinge upon whether or not the third-party candidate is winning states. Could a third-party candidate win states? Personally, I think RFK Jr. could maybe win a couple states. I could see RFK taking a Maine or a Rhode Island.
Ooh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do. I see, because of my time in hip-hop radio and music radio, I still have a lot of liberals that I follow and in my circle. And, whenever an RFK Jr. post pops up, I see the strangest names liking RFK Jr. stuff. I don't see those same people liking any Biden stuff when it pops up. Anecdotal. Maybe it means nothing. Maybe they'll just vote blue no matter who. Liberals tend to do that. But what happens if nobody reaches the threshold? That's a great question. We're going to look into it. It is Agenda Free Friday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Anything you want to talk about, we can talk about on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The Associated Press reports what the Supreme Court is going to be taking up in its next term, and it has to do with regulation of social media and whether it's constitutional. The passing of U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein and inflation coming up, too, at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is 9:28 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So we just had a caller ask if somebody goes third party and nobody gets the Electoral College votes, what happens? To which, I hit him with the old Mike Pence treatment.
I don't know.
So I had to go Google it, and I have the answer. Apparently, if no presidential candidate gets to 270 electoral votes, it goes to Congress.
Oh, okay.
So that could be that. I mean, but again, that would mean that you'd have to have a guy in third party like RFK.
Yeah.
And that would have to assume that he's winning states, and not just winning states, but winning consequential states. So that way it prevents somebody from getting to 270.
Like some swing states.
A lot of ifs.
Gotcha.
A lot of ifs.
Gotcha.
But I still truly believe that if we get a third party candidate like RFK, it'll pull more away from the Democrats. So that way you're not going to have him winning swing states, but it's going to ensure that Biden isn't winning swing states. That's my theory.
Bingo.
It's Agenda Free Friday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN on the Chris Hand Show. We do it every Friday, and what that means is that we can talk about anything you want to talk about. So you can text in, call in, 615-737-9986. Roy and Jim, I see you guys hanging on the line. We're going to get to you next right after Ken Weaver's latest news, which happens now.
"9:30 on the dot this Friday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got some scattered showers in the neighborhood. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. The Associated Press reporting the Supreme Court has agreed to decide whether state laws that seek to regulate Facebook, TikTok, X, and other social media platforms violate the Constitution. U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein has passed away at the age of 90. Feinstein was the oldest member serving in the Senate at the time of her death, spent many of her final months in declining health, and in recent years resisted calls from fellow Democrats to resign. Inflation is speeding up. The Federal Reserve's preferred gauge, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, which includes food and energy categories, increased nearly 0.5% from July into August, 3.5% year over year. And right now in Tennessee, the state's law banning transgender surgery and other gender-affirming medical intervention stays in effect. The Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals rejecting an attempt to block it yesterday in a 2-1 vote. The judges who voted to uphold the law said there's no way to predict consequences of such treatments in the future. By the way, Kentucky's ban on gender-affirming care for kids was upheld too. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
A Roth IRA versus a traditional IRA. Which one should we do? A lot of people struggle over this particular decision. And I'll just give you a couple tools to figure out what might be better for you. Think about it this way. Let's say if I had $1,000 that I was thinking about investing, that was income, $1,000 of income. With an IRA, let's say that you're in a 30% tax bracket. Let's say there is such a thing. And you want to put this money in an IRA. You're going to save $300 in taxes. Now, if you go post-tax with like a Roth IRA, this is how much goes into the Roth IRA. Now, let's say that later on down the road, we have this money and it didn't grow at all, just to keep the math really simple. And let's say that at some point in the future, you're in a lower tax bracket, because the way our tax system works is that your first income is taxed at a really low rate, and then you get up into higher rates, 10%, 12%, 22%, and so on and so forth. It gets higher. If you're earning income and you're at that particular tax rate up there, you might want to avoid that tax rate right now and take the income at a later point in time when you're in a lower average tax rate. Now let's say that you're in a 10% bracket down here when you pull the money. How much are you going to pay in taxes? 10% of $1,000 is $100. How much do you get to spend? $900. Well, even though I didn't have growth, I had growth because of the difference between my tax rate here and here. And that's the idea. That's one of the things that we look at. We look at Social Security taxation, income taxation, and a lot of factors that might drive you in a higher or lower brackets in the future. If you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
.937 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I hope you are having a fantastic Friday. Today is an agenda-free Friday. Agenda-free. Meaning we can talk about whatever you want to talk about at 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. You can call me. You can text me. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Like I just got a text from Dave, literally, seconds ago. Hey, Chris. Can you define neocon as it relates to Nikki Haley? The term gets thrown around a lot.
That's a great question.
For me, I refer to the warmonger forever war class as neocons. And I think Nikki Haley falls into that. Like, we got to fund Ukraine. You know, people that still believe the Cold War is happening. People that still think we should be, in the Middle East fighting forever wars. The guys that are owned by the military-industrial complex, to me, are neocons. And boss mom hair or not, I feel like Nikki Haley is owned by the military-industrial complex. So that's what I mean when if I refer to her as a neocon. I may or may not have. I can't remember. Say a lot of wild stuff. So, anything else you want to talk about? 615-737-9986. Tammy in Unionville, you want to talk about the border versus Ukraine. Is this a spicy take, Tammy? Where are we going?
Oh, I have, first of all, I want to say thank you. I enjoy your show.
Oh, thank you.
I really enjoy your partner there. When he laughs, it makes my day. I think it's so sweet when he laughs.
Thank you.
It's so funny. It's like people are polarized on Mac's laugh. They either love Mac's laugh or they think he sounds like Kamala Harris. There's no in between.
No.
I know, but
it's really sweet.
There's the pro Mac laugh crowd, and then there's the anti Mac laugh crowd. It's strange.
No, I just want to say this, and then I just want to hear you guys on your take. Okay, I am a half Native American. I was raised in San Diego because my father was a career military guy. Okay, so I went to high school in the 70s.
Okay.
Now, over there in high school, there was a big sentiment about that California belongs to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the southern states belong to Mexico. That isn't necessarily my take, but they really, you would hear it a lot in high school. Okay, so now on the border, I hear a lot about the word really invasion, that the immigrants or the illegal aliens are invading us.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to Ukraine, why don't we have trouble with Russia invading another country? See, because the reason why I say that is because I think both of them are bad. I think that a country should not be invaded either way.
So, to your first point, California was given to us by Mexico when Mexico and the United States signed a treaty in like 1848, ending the Mexican War. That's when we got a large part of the Southwest, including
Right.
present-day California. So, like, they signed it over.
Well, and I know that by history, but I'm saying the people themselves believe that that's their territory. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, they should take it up with the Mexican government, and if they, I get where your head's at.
I guess it's the wording that we tend to use, the word invasion.
Well, what would you call it?
Well, I would call it that. Yes, I would. Just like Russia is invading Ukraine.
So if Russia's invading Ukraine and the United States is being invaded, which one do you think is a higher priority to the United States?
Oh, absolutely. Our borders are very much a priority.
I agree with you. Yep.
But like for me, I understand why the Ukraine people don't want Russia there too. They feel invaded.
Well, there's also
my topic. My topic isn't if we should fund it or not fund it. My topic is it wrong or right?
I just don't know. So I know a little bit about what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. I know that there's people in that area that's being quote unquote invaded that want to be part of Russia, speak Russian. I know that whole area was carved up after the Cold War, and I know that it's not a conflict I want to get involved in, and I don't want to get involved in it for a couple reasons. The first being we're totally ill-equipped to deal with our own problems right now. Like you said, the invasion at the southern border is by far a priority, and we can't get it under control. We're what is it, $33 trillion in debt right now. We have a looming government shutdown. We literally can't fix our own problems at home, And I've been tired of being the world police since 2002. So I don't think that we need to be involved in these conflicts between other nations. I get where some people are like, oh, but we got to fight them over there so they don't come fight us here. That sounds great, right? Until we keep fighting over there until it escalates into World War III. And then which Ukrainian city?
Might anyway.
Yeah, but which Ukrainian city are you willing to trade for what U.S. city? You know what I mean? Are you going to trade Kyiv for San Francisco? Like, I mean, as bad as some of these cities are, I don't want to start hurling nuclear missiles around. And if we keep pushing down this road,
you're right.
We're going to lose American soldiers. We're going to lose American lives one way or another. So I want nothing to do with it. I just think it's and meanwhile we're giving hundreds of billions of dollars. You know, they told President Trump that $8 billion to build the wall was too much money.
Well, like I said, I guess I'm still wrestling with the word invasion because I feel like we're being invaded and they're being invaded, and I don't think either one of them are right.
Well, I get where you're at. My whole thing is like, you know, our oxygen mask first. If you're on a plane, they tell you to put on your oxygen mask first because if you don't, you're going to pass out while you're trying to help somebody else. So until we get our problem solved first, I don't think that we should be trying to help others, personally.
Well, these countries that are coming here, I understand why they're coming here. But if we cut them off as far as funding, they will fix what's going on in their countries because a lot of them are running from gang violence. And so if we go to these presidents in the southern Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Colombia, all the way down, and we tell them we're going to cut you off financially unless you get your country in order, you'll see how fast they work on it.
Well, and that's what President Trump was trying to do. I would argue, though, it's you can flee from gang violence all you want, but if they're really fleeing from gang violence in a war zone, you know, I wouldn't flee that area and leave my wife and kids behind. And you see the vast majority of men coming across the border are young, war-aged males. So you can say, oh, they're fleeing violence, but the people that are fleeing the violence would be the ones that you would expect to protect those most victimized by it, and those are the guys coming across the border.
Well, I thank you for listening to my rant.
Hey, no, I appreciate you calling in, Tammy. I think that callers like you make this show a lot more fun. So thank you for calling in. It's an agenda-free Friday. Anything you want to talk about, we can talk about. 615-737-9986. Jim in Tullahoma, you are under the impression that Joe Biden has a stand-in?
Yes, yeah. How you doing?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good. I was just wondering, have you ever wondered if Joe Biden was an understudy of Tommy Smothers?
Tommy Smothers. Enlighten me.
You don't know Tommy Smothers? You need to look up the Smothers Brothers back in the 70s.
The Smothers Brothers.
And Dick and Tommy Smothers. And really and truly, I don't know that Tommy's not a stand-in for Joe Biden every now and then. So yeah. I was just wondering if you heard any of that or not. Or go back. Is this
the American comedian that you're talking about?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this stuff has come up before. I think it's naive to think that the president doesn't have a body double. I think that presidents have had body doubles for forever.
Well, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about his actions. If you ever look at, because it was a comedy show, and it's kind of a comedy show that's a tragedy right now. But anyway, I just wanted you to kind of go back, preview it, and take a look at it and see if that wasn't kind of a kick in the pants.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call. Jim. Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is if Joe Biden has a stand-in, don't you think that they would be able to pull off something a little bit better than this, which was Joe Biden yesterday in Arizona?
From the speech I made at Gettysburg in the inaugural address to the anniversary of January 6th insurrection.
I mean, if you're gonna get a stand-in, he should be a little bit sharper than old Joe. If this is the kind of stand-in that they can afford, I think that they need to look elsewhere. This is Joe Biden yesterday in Arizona.
In Europe, the NATO meeting. I sat down. It was in January, after being elected, the late January, early February.
We don't know when it was, but it was sometime after being elected. I mean, I like, it's like the Fetterman talk. Like either it's a really good stand-in or it's just Joe.
It's him.
It's just Joe. Hey, Carl in Murfreesboro, you have a comment on Ukraine versus our border. You're on Super Talk. What's up?
You said Carl?
Yeah, what's up, Carl?
Hey, man, I sorry, I just put this on regular phone off speakerphone so y'all could hear me probably better.
You sound crystal clear, Carl.
Thank you very much. I enjoy y'all's show every morning, and I just wanted to add to the previous lady on there that I'm glad she calls in because I know that y'all don't hang up on people and stuff, but I wanted to just comment, I'm constantly hearing gang violence from these countries, Colombia or wherever, Guatemala. But can I just give you my observations when we see the same videos on the radio or on TV, I mean?
Please do, yeah.
So when they're coming across the border, what do we actually see? We're seeing people with clean clothes. We're seeing men with clean-cut haircuts. I don't see beards. I don't see anything that looks like anybody's terrorized. And also, I don't believe these people are just walking. They're obviously getting rides or something because you know what it's like when you've been walking all day. But now I don't mean to sound terrible, but I'm just stating what I see. And I will say almost every woman is eating well. So you tell me, we're being lied to or not?
No,
This
and
is a natural invasion, and it's purposely.
Yeah,
and it's not.
I agree with you. I think it's a good point that all these guys are clean shaven. You're not exactly fleeing a war zone and stopping to trim your beard and your whiskers. So I think that's a great point. I hadn't thought about that. As far as the clean clothes, I will say that a lot of these guys, as soon as they cross that river, they have extra clothes in a bag that then they switch out of their wet clothes and then they just throw them on the ground to discard them. And there's a story I'm going to cover. The Great American Cleanup. I'm gonna talk about this a little while later. But they cleaned up like 10 tons of trash at the border, and it's just that it's clothes that people are throwing on the ground because once they get through the river, they put on new clothes. So I won't I don't want to discard or discount that, but I will say that could be part of the clean clothes thing. And then to your other point, it seems like they're getting rides. Like, they are. Have you seen the videos of them aboard the trains on the way here?
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering about the other thousands that are it's like it's a photo op. And I know they have to be coming up on buses or something because I used to do a walkathon thing in Nashville. And by the end of the day, you've got a red face, you're sweaty, and we got a free Arby's roast beef sandwich at Vanderbilt. I mean, that was a while back. But I'm not stupid. I know that this is systematic. I know that there is underlying forces. And I will say this about our current president. I don't mean I'm any ill, but the man is not right in the head. And just like you showed you played those videos of him trying to speak, it's not good.
No, it's not good at all.
And God bless everyone that voted, but I just can't believe that smart people actually voted for this. And that's the way I put my mind at ease. Well, you voted for this because I didn't, but America voted for it, and we're getting paid back.
Yep, you're absolutely right. 81 million votes. It was a record.
That's right.
Hey, Carl, we got to hit the break. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, 81 million votes. 81 million votes. I never see a Biden-Harris T-shirt. Never see people repping a Biden hat. Weird. I got a text. 8320 said, would have been so funny if Chris hung up on the caller immediately after he said he's glad you don't hang up on callers. It was tempting. It was tempting just for the laughs.
Definitely thought about it.
We don't hang up on people here. It's 9:52 on this agenda-free Friday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Anything you want to talk about? Anything we can talk about at 615-737-9986. It's the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Is it constitutional to regulate social media company platforms' content? It's something the U.S. Supreme Court is going to take up, and we'll delve a little bit more into it coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ooh, looking forward to that. Maybe we'll see more positive ripples from the Trump Supreme Court justices. I hope so. It's an agenda-free Friday. Anything you want to talk about, we can talk about on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The number to call, 615-737-9986. Mitch in Nashville. You're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Mitch?
Hey,
Mitch.
man, what's going on, brother?
What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, listen, I just wanted to let you know I've been listening to 99.7 for 20 years. Huge fan of Valentine, huge fan of Del Giorno, and I didn't really think that we would get a talk show host that would fill their shoes. You guys are doing a stellar job in the morning, really.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I just, you guys are doing a fantastic job, and I just don't understand. And another point, what do we do about, you've got these rhino Republicans that are obviously in bed with the Democrats, and when we vote, our conscience, and then they steal the election. I mean, does it matter? How do we mitigate this? What do we do?
I don't know, man. It's like, thanks for the call, Mitch, and thanks for the nice words. I mean, what do? I think that we just have to keep pushing forward, try and control the narrative, and try and take over the online ecosystem. Like you see that the old school establishment are trying to take it over when they're reaching out to memers to pay them to go against Matt Gaetz. They wouldn't be doing that if we weren't winning. So I think that all we can really do is just keep winning. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Ken Weaver waiting in the weeds with the news on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 2 minutes and the breaking news out of Washington, D.C. The Associated Press says the Supreme Court has agreed to decide whether state laws that seek to regulate Facebook, TikTok, X, and other social media platforms violate the Constitution. Supporters of these laws have argued that social media platforms have engaged in impermissible censorship, have silenced conservative voices in particular. Meanwhile, on the other side, advocates of content moderation have argued for the need to stop misinformation and the amplification of extremist causes. California Senator Dianne Feinstein has died at the age of 90. Here's Alex Stone.
Our despair, understandable though it may be.
Dianne Feinstein was thrust into the national spotlight in 1978 as a San Francisco supervisor when Mayor George Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk were assassinated. She became mayor. Then in 1992, she and Barbara Boxer were elected to the Senate, California's first women to hold that job.
It'll be very exciting for those of us. We've got a president and a majority party.
Feinstein would serve 6 terms and vowed not to retire until 2025. But her health had been clearly failing in recent years.
She was the oldest sitting member of Congress. Inflation speeding up again. The Federal Reserve's preferred gauge, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, which includes food and energy categories, went up by nearly 0.5% from July to August and 3.5% annually. And take a bow, American drivers. Jim Ryan says new federal numbers show you're driving more carefully than you were a couple of years ago.
Early numbers from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration show that 19,515 people died in car crashes in the first half of this year, which is a 3.3% decline from the first 6 months of 2022. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg credits advances in vehicle safety technology and improvements to the highway infrastructure.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand from the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin. Now, I know so many people that get injured, they get hurt, and the doctor gives them a pill, and then boom, they're down the road to opioid addiction. I've heard the same story from friends. I've seen the same story with family. It's crazy. It's a scary time. But that's why I'm such a big supporter of the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin. No pills necessary, whether you're dealing with back, neck, knee, hip, elbow pain. All of it can be treated with no pills, no needles, and no downtime. And at the Dr. Gill Center, they've been doing just that, helping people get back to a pain-free life for over 30 years. And right now, the Dr. Gill Center wants to offer you a special offer if you're out there suffering through that pain and looking for non-surgical solutions. So today, you can get all of your new patient initial exams, x-ray, and a complete review of findings for $49. That's less than $50 to find out what's causing your pain. So give the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin a call now and start that journey to becoming pain-free. Call 615-882-4838. That's 615-882-4838. And tell them Chris Hand told you to call. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 10:06. My name is Chris Hand. This is Agenda Free Friday, where we talk about anything you want to talk about. I got a text a minute ago that says, every time you say that, I think you're saying Gender Free Friday. It's must be my Canadian accent, eh? JT in Manchester, you've been waiting patiently on the line. You want to talk about the gender affirmation ruling that's just been handed down. JT, what's up? You're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I wanted to talk about the term gender affirmation. I think a lot of conservatives are falling into the trap of calling it gender affirmation, when if you're actually affirming the gender, you're affirming the gender that a child was born with.
Amen.
If you're affirming gender choice, that's a different story. But
well, that's always what the left does, right? They try to manipulate the language, and they try to make it sound like, oh, it's gender affirming. It's all bright colors and happy, but it's not. It's child sex change surgeries. And if you say it that way, everybody gets uncomfortable in their chair.
Right. And I don't have a problem. Well, I should say it's a different story if a person is an adult and they can make those decisions whether or not they want to be able to reproduce, if they want to be, if they know what irreversible means, all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is harmful for a child. And I have some science in my brain to back it up, but since the left is always too big on science. The Long Island serial killer, or at least the alleged Long Island serial killer that's just been caught, one of his alleged victims was a trans male, a young trans male. And they know that because of the clothing that was found with him. But they know that he was male because they tested his genetic tissue. And I think that's the thing. You can't change your gender.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what you do. Even if you do surgery, you're not changing your gender, because if they find your skeleton later, they're going to say it was a male between the ages of whatever, or a female between the ages of whatever. And they don't, you don't change your genetic material. You can change the outward. And I think the problem is that we conservatives are uncomfortable talking about this subject. And I have people that I love dearly that are in this issue. And it is heartbreaking to me, because I don't ever want them to feel like I don't love them regardless. I love them. I just don't think that the wording that we're using, because we're uncomfortable just coming out and saying, look, you can't change your gender. You can change your outside, but you can't change your gender. And I think if we, and all the pronouns and the this and the that and the whatever.
Well, and I think that the left really wants to control the language, because nobody does the research on the left. You can call it gender affirming care, and it sounds all well and good, like we're doing something loving. But if you really look into what they're doing, especially to boys, it is grotesque. It is grotesque, and it is
really
mutilation.
sad.
they're turning their genitalia inside out, and then the body treats it as an open wound. The body tries to heal the wound for the rest of your life. There's all sorts of complications that come with it, and it's terrible because by just calling it gender affirming care, it sounds like rainbows and sunshine, but they don't ever talk about the dark process behind it. And they also don't talk about don't talk about the mental illness of the parents who are forcing these young kids, sometimes as young as 3 to 3rd grade, into this process. The same parents that probably place the ideas in their head, the same parents that are probably making their children's unwitting characters and their Munchausen syndrome. It's awful. These parents should be tried for crimes, personally.
And I think too, it's scary to me because I'm not going to get too detailed, but I had breast cancer 10 years ago, and I had to have a double mastectomy. And I just think putting a 10-year-old through that, and I'll still deal with consequences of that.
I'm sorry that you dealt with that.
10 years later. But I'm just thinking, what if a 10-year-old girl decides she's a boy and she doesn't know how she's going to feel when she's 28 and decides, I wish I had had children.
And this is why it's so important to get your kids off of social media, because they do this. There's a technique called love bombing. And what happens is, you don't feel comfortable as a girl, you should try dressing in boy clothes. And then it's grooming, right? So everybody says, wow, you look great in boy clothes. This is great.
Right.
You should try and cut your hair. And then they cut their hair, they post a photo. Wow, whoa, you look so great. You look so awesome with your hair short. And then it eventually goes into this point where they have their breasts removed. And there's no coming back from that. I know a girl who is detransitioned. Her name is Chloe Cole. She was at the Murfreesboro Teens Against Gender Mutilation rally with Turning Point, and we were all down there, and I'm talking to her, and she says her parents were victims to this as well, because the medical industrial complex, as we know it, literally told her parents, if you don't do gender affirming care, she's going to kill herself. So would you rather have your daughter become a boy, or would you rather have your daughter die? There's so much corruption and evilness around this. It's hard when you deep dive into this subject. As a Christian, I'm like, oh yeah, this is demons. These people are satanic, and this is what demonic influence looks like in our world. Point blank.
And if a person is suicidal, you need to address why they're suicidal, not just stick a Band-Aid on what they say is making them suicidal.
Absolutely.
There is absolutely chemical imbalance and all kinds of things that make them suicidal.
If my daughter comes
their
down,
gender, so to speak, is not gonna make them not suicidal. If they truly are suicidal, the issue is still going to be. I'm not saying that they're mentally ill just because they want to change their, But if they are saying they're suicidal,
I think it's a fair statement to say that they are mentally ill if they want to change their gender, and you can point to gender dysphoria as the actual medical diagnosis, which is what it was for many years, and I think that there needs to be actual treatment instead of this affirmation. If my daughter says that she's hearing voices in her head and she's coming down with schizophrenia, I am not brave and a good dad for saying, well, let's explore your other personalities and see where this goes. There's no such thing as schizophrenic affirming care, and the same should be said about gender affirming care.
And it's heartbreaking. I mean, I'm not a parent of a child that's like that, but I'm just saying I know an awful lot of people who are, and it is heartbreaking for those parents. And that's why I was saying, I'm not saying they're mentally, because I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But, I would explore the fact that they might be dealing with some mental health issues before I would just say, okay, well then let's make you a boy or let's make you a girl, you know.
And it's become trendy. It's become trendy where like these kids just want to be cool, and some of them, a lot of them are dealing with gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
Some of them are dealing with grooming on the internet and the love bombing system I talked to you about. But yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And thank goodness that Tennessee has banned this, and that this court has upheld the banning for transgender youth care. You know, geez.
Yeah. I just want to be sure that we're not falling into the category of saying we're not going to affirm your gender. You know, it's like that sounds like, you know, we're just going to be old, stodgy old people, and we're not going to let you be who you are. You know, I think we need to say we're not going to affirm your choice until you're grown. And you can decide
even then, JT, I have tattoos from my 20s that I regret. So I mean,
oh, absolutely,
you know what I mean. So
oh, my word, I'm such a different person. I'm 54 now, but I was so different when I was in my teens than I am now.
And it takes time to grow and to have that hindsight. But hey, I appreciate the call, and I appreciate you bringing this up. Thank you so much, JT.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Guy in Franklin, you have a comment on the transgenderism. Guy, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up?
Chris, I'm going to take a little bit more of a hard line than the last caller did. While I agree with a lot of what she says, I think we absolutely should hold these people accountable and not affirm their gender, because I just sent this text in, and I'm glad I was able to call and tell it to you now. If they go by the stance that genitalia does not determine gender, then how does removing said genitalia affirm it?
It's a great point. If it doesn't mean one thing, how does it mean the thing on the other side? Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we should not. And you took a lot of my talking points on that call. I appreciate that. You know, I was going to dive into the schizophrenia and whatnot, but you covered that for me there. I appreciate that. You know, I think this is a direct correlation to going back to the 60s and the 70s when they shut down all the mental asylums in the country. And where did these people go? They either went to jail or they're still in the populace. And now they're sitting in cabinet positions in the White House. And they're stealing people's clothes from airports. I mean, these people are sick. And like you said, we used to have a diagnosis for this gender dysphoria, schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder.
Yep.
We used to, stand for something in these doctors that took a Hippocratic oath.
Do no harm. What happened to do no harm? I don't know about you, but turning a fourth grader's genitalia inside out seems like harm to me.
Brother, this is castration.
You're absolutely right.
These children will never have will never be able to procreate.
Yep.
We have, if you listen to Elon Musk, and excuse me there, he believes that we have a serious population problem going into the next 10 to 20, 30, 40 years. And we're literally castrating tens of thousands of children that will no longer be able to procreate.
Oh, you're gonna see the commercials in 10 to 20 years. Did you or someone you know become a victim of gender-affirming care? If so, call this number. You're going to see it. Were you or someone you know prescribed puberty blockers in the early 2020s? If so, call this number. It's coming. It's coming.
Chris, I appreciate you taking the call, man. I love the show. Love everything y'all do.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, guy. I really appreciate you. Let's go to Corey in Madison. You have a comment on transgenderism. What's up, Corey? You're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
What's going on, guys?
How we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Man, this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a minute, and I won't take too long on it. My son and me, we have a very, very good relationship, but me and his mother are divorced.
Sorry.
And I'm getting to a point here. When I was a little boy, it was not uncommon for me and my brother to play with, like baby dolls, not Barbies, but like little babies.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a weird thing. You know what I mean? But we didn't have our parents saying, hey, you're playing with a baby. You should be a mom, and let's go fix this, and, blah, blah, blah. Well, in today's time, I think a lot of the problems with this, with the kids that are having these issues, is there's no dad in the life. You know what I mean? There's no manly figure there for these young boys, for someone to go, hey, that's not cool. Let's not do this.
Yep. Or this is how we do it. No, I think that's a good point. I think another problem is that those single moms want to also be getting the love bombing on social media, or parents in general want to virtue signal through their kids on social media.
And that's exactly where I'm getting at. That's the point that I wanted to make. I was in an instance 2 years ago where I seen a Facebook post of my son, 7 years old, was painting his fingernails. And he was walking around in his mama's high-heel shoes. Now, 20 years ago, this wouldn't have been the problem that it is today. 20 years ago, you wouldn't worry about them doing that. Oh, no, they're just playing. They're just being kids. But nowadays, my son went to school the very next day. I didn't know because, it's an every other weekend type situation. And I said, son, why is your fingernails pink? Oh, it was just fun.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where it starts.
But, yeah, I mean, my daughter painted my son's toenails, and he thought it was hilarious. And I remember I looked at my wife and made the joke like, well, he's lucky we're not a liberal family, or we would have been going on Facebook to talk about how brave he is.
Because, when it comes to things like that, that's how it starts. We need to have dads go, son, I understand what you're doing, but, actually talk to them about this. And if we don't do something about it, then they're doomed. Our kids are doomed if we don't try to teach them and parent them the way that they should be. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not, and there's nothing wrong with, like you said, your son getting their toenails painted. That's fine.
No, it was funny. Kids can be kids and goof around, and I appreciate the call, Corey. I totally get where you're at, man. And he, there's crazy stories about this. It was January of this year. A Texas dad divorced his wife, and the wife moves to California, and then the dad is fearing that the wife is transitioning the son and planning to chemically castrate him. I mean, these things are real worries and real fears for a lot of parents out there, a lot of divorced parents, and there's a lot of parents that celebrate it and act like it's a good thing. But to me, I think the Sixth Circuit Court allowing Tennessee's ban on care for transgender youth is an absolute win, and we should celebrate our wins. Believe it or not, we are putting some points on the board as conservatives in this country, and with all the craziness happening around us, it's good to see, the ban on transgender care continuing in the great state of Tennessee. It is 10:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you for being a part of the Chris Hand Show.
UAW strike expanding. The U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to decide if states can regulate the content which social media companies decide to go up or down. And Senator Dianne Feinstein has passed away at the age of 90. These stories and more at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. My name is Chris Hand. It's an agenda-free Friday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That means we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. There's quite a few things. Hey, which apology would you like me to cover real quick? Canada or the Great American Cleanup?
Do the American Cleanup.
Okay, so we've been following this story, the Great American Cleanup, and this guy goes down to the border every year on 9/11, and he cleans it up, and he got tons of trash, right? Well, he also raises money while he does it, and he had $15,000 raised for the sheriff's department down there in the border town where he was cleaning up and raising money. And a Democrat activist judge blocked the donation, said that they can't accept it. And we've covered this a couple times. But the guy in charge of the Great American Cleanup shows up to court via Zoom and absolutely dunks on the judge. Absolutely dunks on him. This is what it sounds like.
He was out there with his officers, 107-degree weather, 2 days in a row, picking up 21,240 pounds of trash. And I believe that that's something that every law enforcement agency should look to do when trying to get involved with their community.
He's absolutely right. You know, these police officers get demonized by the community all the time. They should be stepping up, and this police officer stepped up. But the judge says you can't have the $15K raised for you. Well, the organizer of the Great American Cleanup just continues to dunk on him.
And frankly, what happened the last time he stood in front of the commissioner's court was disrespectful. The way that you spoke to that officer wasn't becoming of a county judge. And I think that he deserves an apology. He was spoken to like he was a criminal. He should have been congratulated. And this goes for all the commissioners on that were sitting there next to you. None of them butted in and none of them interrupted and said, hey, wait a minute. Maybe we should try thanking him for what he did.
Amen.
Okay. The facts are the facts. We cleaned up 10.6 tons of trash. Okay. I know that you said you wanted this to be done at a beach. Why didn't you do a beach cleanup? Because the way America works is I'll clean up where I want to clean up. That's how it works here.
Based.
But this wasn't a beach cleanup, Judge. This was a border cleanup. And for good reason, I'm sure you're aware of. I'm not sure of any other beaches that exist where we're going to pick up 10.6 tons of trash. So I demand an apology to the constable. I think the way that you acted was unprofessional, and we shouldn't do that to our elected officials. We should stand up for police officers that do the right thing. And this is a police officer that does the right thing time and time again, and he deserves respect. And that's all I have to say.
Well, he did get his apology, and he's also gotten the check now. And kudos to the organizers of the Great American Cleanup for standing up for what's right and cleaning up the border town on 9/11. 10-point-something tons of trash. Are you kidding me?
It's insane.
It's like we were talking about a minute ago on the border. They come across, they have wet clothes on, and they just ditch everything right there to the point where they got 10-point-something tons of trash. Unreal. All right, 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. More of your calls next on this Agenda-Free Friday, but right now, Ken Weaver with the news.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. The UAW strike against Detroit's big three automakers will expand later today. United Auto Workers Union President Shawn Fain.
It's time to use that power. That's why I'm calling on an additional 7,000 members across Ford and GM to go on strike starting at noon Eastern today.
Fain says Stellantis has been spared because of progress in contract negotiations. Right now in the nation's capital, the U.S. Supreme Court agreeing to decide whether it is constitutional to limit social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and X to moderate content. Decisions in the case is expected next year. California Senator Dianne Feinstein has died at the age of 90. She was the oldest serving member in Congress. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
A Roth IRA versus a traditional IRA. Which one should we do? A lot of people struggle over this particular decision. And I'll just give you a couple tools to figure out what might be better for you. Think about it this way. Let's say if I had $1,000 that I was thinking about investing, that was income, $1,000 of income. With an IRA, let's say that you're in a 30% tax bracket. Let's say there is such a thing. And you want to put this money in an IRA. You're going to save $300 in taxes. Now, if you go post-tax with like a Roth IRA, this is how much goes into the Roth IRA. Now, let's say that later on down the road, we have this money and it didn't grow at all, just to keep the math really simple. And let's say that at some point in the future, you're in a lower tax bracket, because the way our tax system works is that your first income is taxed at a really low rate, and then you get up into higher rates, 10%, 12%, 22%, and so on and so forth. It gets higher. If you're earning income and you're at that particular tax rate up there, you might want to avoid that tax rate right now and take the income at a later point in time when you're in a lower average tax rate. Now let's say that you're in a 10% bracket down here when you pull the money. How much are you going to pay in taxes? 10% of $1,000 is $100. How much do you get to spend? $900. Well, even though I didn't have growth, I had growth because of the difference between my tax rate here and here. And that's the idea. That's one of the things that we look at. We look at Social Security taxation, income taxation, and a lot of factors that might drive you in a higher or lower brackets in the future. If you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
$10:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, how are you? Happy Friday. It is Chris Hand. This is an agenda-free Friday, meaning we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I've been railing against Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and I was up last night, and I had this epiphany. Mac, can you grow a mustache?
Unfortunately not.
So what are you going to do for your Halloween costume with your girlfriend? Are you going to have to get a fake mustache, or what are we doing?
Yeah, I'll probably go that route. Yeah.
You have to get the fake mustache? All right. You and your girlfriend will be Taylor and Travis for Halloween,
Trey.
right?
Let's go.
Trey. Is that really what you're calling it?
I just made that up.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's not bad, right?
That's actually really good.
Thank you.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So, all right. If you're going to get a basic Halloween costume like that, you need to do one thing for me.
Okay, what's that?
You need to get like an oversized blue Band-Aid for your arm for the Pfizer vaccine.
For the jab. That'll put it all together. That's it. Yeah.
It'll be like full circle. It'll go from being basic to based. It might still be pretty basic. You know, Laura Loomer was tweeting about Taylor Swift. She's under the impression that Taylor Swift could possibly have made a deal with George Soros and Alex Soros to get the rights back to her music in exchange for getting the Zoomers registered to vote against President Trump ahead of the 2024 presidential election. In 2024, Zoomers are officially set to replace Boomers as the largest voting demographic in America. And last week, Taylor Swift registered over 40,000 voters with a single Instagram post. Of course, most of them were Zoomers. And she's decided to engage in anti-Trump tirades. And she's using her platform to focus on abortion and fear-mongering and divisiveness. And that's the number one issue to get people registered to vote. Now, she has more followers than Trump on both X and Instagram. And now she's, of course, dating Travis Kelce, who just signed that deal with Pfizer to push COVID vaccines to millions of sports fans and Zoomers. Even though all the hard data shows that young people and athletes don't really need it. Also, convenient, Taylor Swift's world tour that she's on comes right back to the U.S. right before the U.S. elections in October. She's spending 3 days in Miami the last week of October 2024, where she's likely going to be making a big push to get people to the polls. And Florida is the largest swing state in the nation. And also, Ron DeSantis signed that 6-week abortion ban. So is Taylor Swift posturing to kind of use her pull in the 2024 election? I certainly think it makes sense. I mean, she's said that Alex Soros and George Soros bought the rights to her music and her first 6 albums when Scooter Braun sold it to a private equity firm tied to the Soros family for $300 million. So has she made a deal with the devil to get her rights back by promoting Democrats in the upcoming election? That's what Laura Loomer is pushing on X, on Twitter. It's an interesting take. There's also tweets resurfacing about her being terrified about abortion and Republicans deciding what women's rights are for their own body, retweeting Michelle Obama. And a lot of people think Michelle Obama may be the nominee in 2024 or could be running on the same ticket as Gavin Newsom. So it's interesting to say the least. It's interesting. It's interesting to zoom out on the Taylor Swift thing and think about what the big picture is and what the move is. You know, I made the point that it certainly seems like her dating Travis Kelce is going to get a lot of young people interested in Travis who just signed that deal with Pfizer, and then you're going to get young people lined up to get the booster. They don't need it. There's no evidence long-term that this booster is going to work, just like there was no evidence long-term that the vaccine would work. And spoiler alert, it didn't. It didn't stop people from getting COVID. It didn't stop people from spreading COVID. Of course, they pivoted to it'll lessen your complications. But also, Taylor Swift had an ad, had her music used in an ad that Gavin Newsom tweeted out in 2020. I mean, people are saying that an alliance is formed and Gavin Newsom and Michelle Obama could be running together in 2024. And if they do, their plan is to use social media influencers to help them win. And social media influencers are the new move for everyone. We talked about it early in the show. Kevin McCarthy reaching out to conservative social media influencers to come out against Matt Gaetz, offering to pay them for tweets that favor McCarthy over Gaetz in the government shutdown issue. So it's not shocking that the Dems are going to try and leverage social media, but it's something to pay attention to. Because if a guy like Gavin Newsom and Michelle Obama run and you get somebody like Taylor Swift behind them, all bets are off. Which it makes me think even more so that Joe Biden is not going to be the nominee in 2024. And how could he be? I mean, have you heard him? Have you heard him talk lately? This was him yesterday in Arizona.
In Europe, the NATO meeting. I sat down. It was in January, after being elected. The late January, early February.
I mean, that's the president of the United States. He can't talk. The man can't talk. And as Jake Tapper points out, there hasn't been polls this bad for a president since Jimmy Carter.
Polls show that Joe Biden is really underwater when it comes to approval on the economy, approval on immigration and the border, when it comes to approval in almost every realm. I mean, he's really facing, I think it's some of the worst polling for an incumbent president since Jimmy Carter.
It's bad. It's absolutely bad for Joe Biden, and I'm fully under the impression that he is not going to make it to 2024. And I don't know if you've been paying attention. I don't know if you've been keeping your eye on it. But in the last week, right, Gavin Newsom has sat down with 60 Minutes, showed up to the GOP debate, said it was the JV debate, said it was like the XFL. He called DeSantis a fool for accepting his debate offer. And then he mopped the floor with Sean Hannity on Fox News. So I don't know if you're paying attention, but Gavin Newsom is most likely running in 2024. Jack Posobiec mentioned that it's a shadow primary between him and Hillary. It certainly feels that way. I mean, poor Joe Biden can't even talk. Why would you run Joe Biden? And nobody likes Kamala Harris. So there's calls to replace her. If they don't replace Kamala Harris as VP soon, there's absolutely no way Joe Biden's running. None. Because if he does run, and say hypothetically he was to win, he's not making it through that term. I mean, listen to how Joe Biden talks. He starts calling out Trump yesterday for Trump's comments about going after the news media for treason.
I've spent more time with Xi Jinping.
Oh, not that one. Hang on one second. Right here.
I've tried my very best, and I'm sure I haven't met the test of all of you want.
Oh, sorry.
But they haven't given up. Just look at recent days. There are accusations of treason against the major news network because they don't like its coverage. I don't know what the hell I'd say about Fox if that becomes the rule.
I mean, I know what I would say about Fox News. I sure do. Mac, what do you think we would say about Fox News?
Because we're Fox News and we suck.
Yep.
That's about it.
But I mean, going after major news networks for treason, it's not a stretch. It would definitely be something to look into if Trump was to win. They buried the laptop. You look at stories now where there's a new thing that says an MRC poll, the Media Research Center, found that most CNN and MSNBC viewers don't even know about Biden's scandals and bad news. Fewer than 50% of MSNBC and CNN viewers are aware of these key issues.
What?
Yeah.
How?
Bury their head in the sand.
Wow.
The poll was conducted for the Media Research Center by McLaughlin and Associates between June 15th and June 19th. Survey consisted of 1,000 general election voters who were asked about where they typically receive their news, as well as their knowledge of 11 important news stories. Over nearly half of those we surveyed said they received most of their news from television, 49%, followed by online, 39%, newspapers, 6%, radio, 3%. Those are rookie numbers on radio. We got to get those numbers up. But regardless of their primary news source, we asked all respondents if they had a cable news station they watched. Most often, a slight plurality, 34.2%, cited a conservative right-leaning cable network, Fox News, and Newsmax. Slightly fewer than 30% cited a liberal left-leaning network like CNN, 20%, MSNBC, 9%, and another 3% cited another network. Now, when you sift through all the various media combinations, the biggest difference they found in the poll were between those who preferred liberal networks versus conservative. And what it showed was that a majority of respondents recalled hearing that gas prices had risen, but that the number drops to less than half, 48%, among those who have heard it recently when they say they watch CNN or MSNBC. It's crazy. An average of 2.3 million border crossings per year they were asked about. 77% heard about it if they prefer Fox and Newsmax. 38% had heard about it if they prefer CNN and MSNBC. 100 known or suspected terrorists caught at the border. About 60%, if you watch Fox or Newsmax, had heard about it. 34% of CNN and MSNBC viewers. I mean, you look at the media manipulation, and it's hard not to think that you could call it treason. I mean, when you're outright lying to the people and pushing political narratives on television like that, wouldn't it be like, how is it weird for Trump to say that he's going to look into it for treason? But that's our president. And then he jokes about Fox News. There's just no way Joe Biden is running in 2024. There can't be. There can't be. I mean, he goes on to just say outlandish lies that have been debunked over and over again. Listen to this. He says that he traveled 17,000 miles with Xi Jinping, just him and Xi, and a translator. 68 hours.
I've spent more time with Xi Jinping than any world leader has. 68 hours alone with just he and I and an interpreter.
Just 68 hours.
Sleeping next to each other? Like, what are you talking about?
They were in an RV. They were just traveling across the country. Just two buddies. They went on a road trip.
68 hours alone with just he and I and an interpreter.
It was the three of them.
I bet you that interpreter got tired.
She's looking at the interpreter. What did he say? He's like, I have no idea.
68 hours alone with just he and I and an interpreter. Traveled 17,000 miles with him here and in China. On the Tibetan Plateau, he turned to me and he asked me, he said, can you define America for me? And I was deadly earnest. I said, yes. In one word.
All right. And then he says the one word. And then immediately the dementia kicks in and he starts yelling again, okay? So define America in one word. This is what Joe Biden said to Xi Jinping.
Possibilities. We in America believe anything's possible if we try it. Anything we do together, we can get done.
Jack.
I just have a feeling that non-English speaking countries are going to be using this audio of Joe Biden yelling one day the same way we look at Hitler speeches with Hitler yelling like, "Zu schlagen, schlagen."
We in America believe anything's possible if we try it.
He's just slamming his fist on the desk. What a nut. I mean,
anything we do together, we can get done.
Amen.
He's so mad.
He's always angry. That's a sign of dementia. Unrelated.
Yes,
unrelated.
It is.
You just get angry about things. Oh, you're playing the music already? Threw me off.
Sorry. I can
turn that music off, man.
We in America believe anything's possible if we try it.
Anything's possible. I'm just kidding. You can play the music. It's 10:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't just yell at Mac for no reason. I don't have onset dementia. But anything you want to talk about, it's an agenda-free Friday. 615-737-9986. And don't forget, you guys, never forget.
We in America believe anything's possible if we try it. Anything we do together, we can get done. I've tried my very best, and I'm
The Auto Workers Union strike is expanding. The U.S. Supreme Court to decide if states can limit what social media companies can put up or take down. Tributes to the now late U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein, and a study shows a correlation to heart problems and too much pot. These stories and more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Scary times. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. It's an agenda-free Friday. We were playing the audio of Biden just yelling. He just yells a lot, and this is what that sounds like.
We in America believe anything's possible if we try it. Anything we do together, we can get done.
Yeah, except fixing the border. That's what Keith said. Bill said that Biden guy yelling frightened me. Yep.
Calm down, man.
2785 said, Biden reminds me of the old man in the gym on Seinfeld challenging Jerry obnoxiously.
Yes.
Old Izzy Mandelbaum.
Yeah.
He's 80 years old, but strong as an ox. I think you're better than me, huh? Izzy used to work out with Charles Atlas in the 50s.
1850s?
Yeah, that's it. It's go time. Let's see you lift that.
Mr. Mandelbaum.
Come on. Pump it.
All right.
Wrong attitude. You're not bringing that trash into my house.
He does. He sounds like him.
Anything we do together, we can get done.
You're not bringing that trash into my house.
Jack.
Also, somebody pointed out traveling 16,000 miles with Xi Jinping, just him and the interpreter.
68 hours alone with just he and I and an interpreter.
Oh.
Travel 17,000 miles with him here and in China.
Well, we got napkin mathers on the super text line. 9492 texting. He said 17,000 miles divided by 68 hours means they were moving at 250 miles per hour. Yeah. Biden has one speed, baby. It's go. I also think it's funny. He said, he said it was just me, him, and an interpreter.
68 hours alone with just he and I and an interpreter.
And Hunter. And Hunter's business associates. and the guys from the energy company. That's it. It was just them. I swear. It's unreal. All right. Anything you want to talk about, we can talk about. It's an agenda-free Friday. Agenda-free. 615-737-9986. More of your texts and calls next. Right now, Ken Weaver's got the latest headlines on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Eleven o'clock on the dot this Friday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. UAW President Shawn Fain calling on 7,000 more union workers to hit the picket lines against the big three automakers today.
We are fed up with breaking our bodies for companies that take more and more and give less and less. As of noon Eastern Time today, 25,000 of us will be on strike for a better future.
Right now in our nation's capital, the U.S. Supreme Court's agreed to decide whether it is constitutional to limit social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and X to moderate content. Industry trade groups are targeting new laws in Texas and Florida. They say severely limit the ability of social media companies to kick users off their platforms or remove individual posts. Decisions in the cases expected next year. California Senator Dianne Feinstein has passed away at the age of 90. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy fondly remembering the first woman to serve as mayor of San Francisco.
The trailblazing of the first woman elected mayor, even coming from a different party, inspired women from both sides of the aisle to seek elected office and to have their voices heard.
McCarthy speaking to reporters at a news conference today on the scramble to avert a government shutdown, which, by the way, we're still headed that way. Inflation speeding up. The Federal Reserve's preferred gauge, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, which includes food and energy categories, increased nearly 0.5% from July and 3.5% annually. And a new study out of Canada points out some concerns between heart health and cannabis use. shows heavy marijuana use can lead to a higher risk of developing cardiac issues. Dr. Jennifer Ashton explains what these experts found.
People with cannabis use disorder were at a 60% increased risk of developing cardiovascular complications. The overall risk was still quite low. But again, these are in young, healthy people, and this was an increased risk when you compare it to people of the same age and sex who didn't use cannabis to that extent.
Now, officials point out if you think you have cannabis use disorder, you can call or text 988 if you're experiencing any type of a mental health issue, and that includes substance abuse problems. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for Paul Winkler, Inc. I'm so happy I linked up with Paul and his team. I got 4 wonderful kids, and me and my wife needed a financial plan, and because of Paul, we have one now. Now, because Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher fiduciary standard, I'm required to tell you that I'm paid every time this commercial airs, and that's fine. You know, I gotta give my nod to the government regulators and do what they tell me to do. But it's because of Paul's honesty, transparency, and knowledge that I decided to become a client myself. And you can find out just how knowledgeable Paul is today. Paul is doing a Medicare workshop today at noon with a representative from the State Health Insurance Assistant Program. I mean, you probably see all kinds of commercials about Medicare this time of year and wonder what the truth is behind some of these sales pitches. Well, this is a great way to learn more about health insurance if you're 65 years or older without any sales pitch. And that's because Paul and his team don't sell insurance. So you can check it out today at noon right online, paulwinkler.com. Click the webinars tab and register. It's that simple. And if you need somebody to help you with your financial plan, you can do that on the website as well. Set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call on that website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or call 615-851-1950. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I'm getting a lot of texts about Joe Biden and Xi and an interpreter driving around 17,000 miles, 68 hours. So maybe somebody said maybe they were on a boys' trip to go see Journey.
Hey, fellas, wait for me. I've got the smack.
That would be a wild boys' trip. Somebody texted in and he goes, I think Biden was recalling when he and Xi went to Coachella together. Maybe.
Oh, my God.
Maybe. I also edited out the rough part at the end there, 10:37.
Yeah, 10:37 got a little raunchy there.
Trying to catch me slipping, but I'm not going to. I'm not gonna read that part. We do need to do the Uncensored Super Text podcast. That's happening. Also, it's an agenda-free Friday. Anything you want to talk about, we can talk about. 615-737-9986. Lee in Hillsborough, you have been waiting so patiently on hold. You want to talk stand your ground laws. What's up, Lee? Lee? Oh, well, sorry, Lee. I feel bad. Lee was waiting on hold very patiently, and apparently it wasn't as patient as I thought it was. But we'll try and get Lee on. Anything you want to talk about, 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986 is an agenda-free Friday. I did want to play this Justin Trudeau apology. As you all know, they clapped for Nazis in Canadian Parliament, just Canadian things. And Justin Trudeau tried to apologize, but he's been whiffing on the apology. So this was his third attempt at an apology.
In a few moments, I will address the House in front of all Canadians, in front of Jewish people here and around the world, and Ukrainians, to offer Parliament's unreserved apologies for what happened on Friday. The Speaker was solely responsible for the invitation and recognition of this man, and has wholly accepted that responsibility and stepped down. This was a mistake that has deeply embarrassed Parliament and Canada. All of us who were in this House on Friday regret deeply having stood and clapped, even though we did so unaware of the context.
Just throwing people under the bus.
It was a horrendous violation of the memory of the millions of people who died in the Holocaust, and it was deeply, deeply painful for Jewish people. It also hurt Polish people, Roma people, 2S LGBTQI+ people, disabled people, racialized people, and the many millions who were targeted by the Nazi genocide.
I mean, I get the sentiment, but doesn't he kind of jump the shark when he starts going off about, what was it?
2S LGBTQI+ people.
What's a 2S LGBTQI+ people? What is that?
That must be a new one.
Oh, is it because they do things in French? Is that what it is?
I will never apologize for standing up for an LGBTQ2+.
Oh, all right. I have no idea what he's talking about. What? Who are these people?
2S LGBTQI+ people.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Justin. He stands up for them. He won't stop.
I will never apologize for standing up for an LGBTQ2+.
That's unreal.
Well, he apparently knows them well.
Yes, he does. He'll never stop standing up for them once he learns how to pronounce whatever he's trying to pronounce.
So what's the 2S?
I don't know.
I think you just made it up.
Hold on, just so you can Google it. This is what it is.
For standing up for an LGBTQ2+.
But I think that was a couple versions ago. I think this is the current version.
2S LGBTQI+ people.
You know he practiced that in the bathroom mirror.
I was getting ready to say, he sounds like she and Biden's translator. About 10 hours into the trip.
Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine how much rice wine that poor guy had to drink?
2S LGBTQI+ people.
Yeah. Interesting. Lee, is Lee back on the line? Lee, you want to talk stand your ground? What's up, Lee? You're on Super Talk.
Yes. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Lee?
Thank you. Good. Thank you for taking my call. I know that there's states that have the stand your ground and also the castle doctrine. And I know a couple years ago on social media there was a town, and I'm pretty sure it was in West Virginia, and they put in law that everyone had to have a gun in their town.
Oh, I like that.
And the crime rate went down like, unbelievable.
An armed society is a polite society.
Yes, amen. And I mean, I live out in the country on 8 acres, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And there's one thing I know, that if I see somebody coming up my driveway that I don't know who it is, they'll be meeting me with a firearm.
Basically,
because I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And
I'm with it.
I believe that like the stuff that's happening in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania has that stand your ground. So why don't they do anything like fight back and hey, is it because they have tougher gun laws up there? I don't know what the gun laws are in all the states.
I mean, we have a stand your ground law in Tennessee, right, Mac?
Right.
And
yes,
it used to be the castle doctrine, but now it's the stand your ground.
Yeah, and we do. I mean, in other states, I feel like they've demonized people being the hero. You know what I mean? Like you look at
right.
Daniel Penny in New York, that whole situation where the guy is helping people on the subway and then he's facing manslaughter charges. You look at it anywhere. It seems like you're only punished for doing the right thing nowadays. And I fear that in some of these blue liberal cities, people are afraid to step up because they don't want to be treated like a pariah to society. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm a Christian. I'm a big Christian, and I believe in, protecting myself, my family, whoever, and
yeah, me too. I mean, and people think, and thank you for your call, Lee. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you staying on hold for a while.
Thank you.
I'm a Christian
No
too, and people often say, Jesus was a pacifist, Jesus, turn the other cheek, that whole thing. I often remind people when they say, what would Jesus do, that flipping tables and chasing bankers with a whip is well within the realm of possibilities. So, that's my take on it.
I've got that 2S.
What is it?
It's
hold on. No, this is what you're talking about. This is a Canada thing.
2S LGBTQI plus people.
Okay, what is it?
2S. A two-spirit person.
What?
Wow.
Is that like the guys with like the wolf t-shirts? They're like, I have two wolves inside of me.
That's what traditionally Native American two-spirit people were male, female, and sometimes intersexed individuals who combined activities of both men and women with traits unique to their status as two-spirit people. They were considered neither men nor women. They occupied a distinct alternative gender status.
For standing up for an LGBTQ2 plus.
All right. So over it.
All right. We're going to stand up for him. There's two wolves inside of me. Buck in Grundy County, you have a comment on the late Senator Feinstein. What's up, Buck?
Hey, it's about her death, is a bad thing. But, Kevin Newsom's come out now, and just right off the bat, he's on a appoint a black woman, a senator. That just ain't right, because if it was reversed and there's a black woman in there and she died and they appointed a white woman as senator, they burn Los Angeles down.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's definitely and they'll call it reverse racism. It's just racism. How about we just hire the right person for the job? Like, who cares what they look like? Who cares what their skin color is? When people tell me,
what
like, hey, let me ask you.
What they need to do is appoint somebody that has no intention of running in the election, and let these other ones, fight it out at the polls. And the only reason that Kevin Newsom is appointing a black, because he's going to run for president, and he's getting the black courting the black votes.
Yeah,
so
it's interesting though.
To be black.
It's interesting though. Out of all the black people that he could appoint, I doubt he's going to put somebody in like Larry Elder.
Right.
He's not going to go that route. It's all ideologues. And thanks for the call, Buck. I appreciate it. Yeah, of course they'll do they'll they'll virtue signal and say, we got to appoint a black person. Okay, great. Hey, if you got a black person, a white person, and an Asian person, who do you want flying the plane? The pilot. You want the pilot flying the plane. So I'm all for meritocracy. I don't care about this race stuff. It seems like only the left cares about race stuff. So I'm over that. Even when you tell me that, we got to appoint a black woman. All right. Well, it sinks because if she is the best person for the job, she just lost any weight that she carries because you said, I'm going to appoint a black person no matter what. So, okay. Now everybody's going to call it a diversity hire, even if that's the best person for the job. Like, you're shooting yourself in your own foot. It's just ridiculous. It's virtue signaling. Adam in Columbia, you have a comment on the gender stuff on this Agenda-Free Friday. What's up, Adam? You're on Super Talk.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me on. Wanted to talk about the gender issue. First of all, when I heard Justin Trudeau say that 2SLBGQ, I thought he was talking about a model on a washing machine.
Oh, you mean this?
2SLGBTQI plus people.
That sounds like a whirlpool to me. I mean, you wash your clothes in it. In all seriousness, growing up, I used to believe that I was a Ninja Turtle, and I didn't get a surgery to change into a Ninja Turtle, and I grew. I don't know if you can tell by my voice.
Your parents sound like monsters. How could they not affirm you?
Oh, they're just horrible, But let's look at the basics of this. Sex is a physical characteristic, and when you get to that, the sex is based off your genetics. There's nothing that you can do to change your genetics. So even if you hack it off or sew it on, your body's still going to try to make you what you are. Yep. And I am a white male. I'm not going to say I identify as a white male because that is what I am. But I can't just say, hey, I identify as a Native American woman. I can't do that, so it's the same thing. You're trying to change a physical characteristic that you just can't change, and race is a good example of that. So it's 100% lunacy, and I almost feel sorry for some of these people. I mean,
oh yeah,
how can you live your life that way?
I feel sorry for him too. Thanks for the call, Adam. You're absolutely right. But we will continue to defend the
2SLGBTQI plus people.
That's what we're here for. Very inclusive show. Especially especially the 2S. I didn't know that was a thing. I was today years old when I found out that was a thing.
Didn't know.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah,
there'll be more.
It's just getting longer and longer, the list. You know what I mean?
1349 says, that's not very inclusive to us 5-spirit people.
Oh, I didn't even think about the 5-spirit people. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about all you 5-spiriters out there. I've heard of 3-percenters. I didn't know there was 5-spiriters.
Yep.
That's
weird.
It. Weird. All right, 11:19 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, I did want to mention our boy Mac. He's been grinding out these podcasts, doing sports podcasts, and they're pretty fantastic. Mac has a new episode up of his sports podcast. Who you got on the show this week?
Ron Slay from our sister station at The Zone. So he came on and we talked about this huge NBA trade. I've got some NFL stuff. Had 2 episodes come out this week, so you can find us on Spotify, Behind the Box Score.
I used to be such a big NBA fan, and then I'm like 3 days late to finding out Dame Lillard was traded.
It's a huge trade.
What? This stuff used to be like big. I feel like it's falling off. Like nobody really cares anymore.
Yeah, it's weird, especially when the NFL they're competing with the NFL on Sundays. But we break it all down. Behind the Box Score, you can listen to us.
All right, what's your Twitter so that way people can find it?
Mac J. Morey 25.
All right, hit the follow button. Mac will follow back, and I'm on Twitter as well at Chris Hand on air. And that's Twitter, Instagram, True Social, all 3. Find me, hit the follow button, I'll follow back. It's 11:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
There is a new development in the government spending showdown ahead of a potential government shutdown, and I'll tell you about it at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. I appreciate you, my man. It is 11:24 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We do this every Friday. You know, I always got Mac producing. I always got Ken in the newsroom, but we say it all the time. The most important member of our crew is you, and that's on the Super Text line and the phone lines. So on Fridays, we turn it over to you, and we let you talk about whatever you want to talk about. Literally anything. It's an agenda-free Friday. 615-737-9986. Jenny in Smyrna, you want to talk about the transgender stuff. Jenny, you're on Super Talk. What's up?
Hey, I just want to get my 2 cents in there.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall growing up when you'd go out to rent a car, you had to be 24 years old? The car insurance industry, they knew that people were not, I'm just going to say, fully baked in order to rent a car. Their insurance statistics and so forth, their research, they said do not rent cars to young people under 24 years of age. There's a reason for this. It's called myelinization. MYELINATION.
What is it again? Can you say that one more time? It's what? It's called what?
It is the neurological and anatomical process of myelin in growth and development from the time you are born until you are roughly 22 to 24 years old. The myelin is still being processed throughout your body. And the last place that it finishes up is the brain. So this is not a liberal or a conservative issue. This is an anatomy, God-created body that is not finished developing until 22, 24. And what that means is when you're 18, 19 years old, you're still not able to think in terms of consequences for your actions. You still, when you go to college, you still have to have lots of help to figure out your schedules. You can't plan ahead. You can't take in everything neurologically. People cannot think straight. So a freshman in college is entirely different from a graduated at age 21, 22, 23, 24 years old. Their brains are finally myelinated completely. And it is a physical, anatomical problem. So when little kids are teens or they make a decision in junior high to do what their peer group tells them to do, they have no idea of the consequences of the behavior they are enacting.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
And therefore, it is nothing to debate. It is, if the car insurance industry can hold up and say, hey, we are not leasing to people under 24 years of age, our government, our state government, our local government to be putting their foot down and say, hey, I now know about this. This is truth, and nothing is going to change it. So
no, you're absolutely right. And luckily, we have some sane people here in our federal appeals court yesterday allowing Tennessee and Kentucky to enforce laws banning gender-affirming care for minors. And
not only that, they need to be going after the doctors and nurses.
Absolutely. They need to be going after the people pushing this on the kids. It's awful.
They should be going after them because they know what they're doing. They've been taught in school, just like me, the physiological growth and development. They know. And that makes them accountable for the fallout, the crisis in these young people who want, hey, I made a mistake. On Flashpoint, a week before last, there was a gal who gave her testimony who she thought she wanted to be a guy.
Was it Chloe? Was it Chloe Cole?
She is calling for a national. Please don't let them do it before they're 18 years old. Well, I'm here to tell you, It should be age 24. If the car insurance industry can just flat out say, no, we are not leasing to you, then we can flat out say, no, you are not completely there yet. And for your own safety and future problems, no operations.
Hey, I think you're absolutely right, Jenny, and I appreciate the call, and I love you bringing the science into it, because we've been told so often we have to follow the science. So can we follow the science that actually supports what we're talking about here? It's like, but they won't follow the science that's inconvenient to them. No. They follow the propaganda in those cases. Luckily, we aren't going to be seeing it here in Tennessee and Kentucky. They've banned that gender affirming medical care for minors, and it drives me nuts that they call it gender affirming medical care. It's sex changes for kids. It's stopping their natural process, and it's downright evil. But it's banned here in Tennessee and Kentucky. So hallelujah. And this isn't going to be the last we hear of this. They're going to fight this more and more because that's what these crazy people do. They think they're right. And this is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court before it's all said and done. 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver's got the latest headlines.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now in our nation's capital, government spending showdown to try to avoid a shutdown. CNN says a key procedural vote has cleared the House. It's a 30-day extension that cuts funding from current levels and includes strict border policies. The UAW strikes expanding for the second time, as announced by President Shawn Fain moments ago.
It's time to use that power. That's why I'm calling on an additional 7,000 members across Ford and GM to go on strike starting at noon Eastern today.
GM's head of manufacturing said this expansion was for headlines, not real progress. And the Associated Press reports the Supreme Court's agreed to decide whether state laws that seek to regulate Facebook, TikTok, X, and other social media platforms violate the Constitution. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
A Roth IRA versus a traditional IRA. Which one should we do? A lot of people struggle over this particular decision. And I'll just give you a couple tools to figure out what might be better for you. Think about it this way. Let's say if I had $1,000 that I was thinking about investing, that was income, $1,000 of income. With an IRA, let's say that you're in a 30% tax bracket. Let's say there is such a thing. And you want to put this money in an IRA. You're going to save $300 in taxes. Now, if you go post-tax with like a Roth IRA, this is how much goes into the Roth IRA. Now, let's say that later on down the road, we have this money and it didn't grow at all, just to keep the math really simple. And let's say that at some point in the future, you're in a lower tax bracket, because the way our tax system works is that your first income is taxed at a really low rate, and then you get up into higher rates, 10%, 12%, 22%, and so on and so forth. It gets higher. If you're earning income and you're at that particular tax rate up there, you might want to avoid that tax rate right now and take the income at a later point in time when you're in a lower average tax rate. Now let's say that you're in a 10% bracket down here when you pull the money. How much are you going to pay in taxes? 10% of $1,000 is $100. How much do you get to spend? $900. Well, even though I didn't have growth, I had growth because of the difference between my tax rate here and here. And that's the idea. That's one of the things that we look at. We look at Social Security taxation, income taxation, and a lot of factors that might drive you in a higher or lower brackets in the future. If you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or call 615-851-1950.
Hey, it's Chris Hanford, Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling. The weather, man, it's been wild. We've been kicking on the heat in the morning to get rid of the chill in the air, and we've been turning on the AC in the afternoon. And if you're finding your HVAC unit on the fritz, or you think that you need to have somebody come take a look at it before it breaks down, I got a guy for you. It's Jeff Eddy and his crew at Efficient Heating and Cooling. I mean, it can be so hard to find somebody you trust with these home repairs. It really can. You got to know a guy who knows a guy. Well, I know a guy, and you can trust him because Efficient Heating and Cooling is a small company with big service and even bigger results. Jeff and his crew have been doing what's right, and they've proved it time and time again. So if you're trying to make a decision to repair or replace your system, if you've already had somebody come look at your system, have Jeff and his crew take a second opinion on it, because the other guys, they might just pressure you to replace it because they make more money that way. But Jeff and his crew have no problem telling you if you just need to replace a part to save some money. This is the difference between Jeff Eddy, Efficient Heating and Cooling, and the other guys. They will help you go through every option and scenario so that way you can make an informed decision. Plus, Efficient offers up to 18 months same as cash financing on your next unit. They're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. If you want more information, go to efficienthvac.net, or if it's an emergency, call right now, 615-784-4424. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. It's an agenda-free Friday. Anything you want to talk about, we can talk about. We were talking about a lot of the gender care, and a lot of the people were getting mad that our last caller kept calling it gender-affirming care, and I understand.
Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny. But Jenny was saying that these kids shouldn't be able to make those decisions.
Yeah, that was her whole point.
Her whole point was that they shouldn't be able to make those decisions. But I do understand where people are coming from. You use the language of the left, and it's like you fall down their trap, right? Like the same thing with migrants or illegal aliens.
Yep.
They always twist the language on the left, and that can be frustrating. That can be frustrating. But we can talk about anything else you want to talk about, too. 615-737-9986. Dawn in Gallatin, you want to talk about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Ooh, I see Mac's ears perked up when he heard Travis Kelce.
Let's go, Dawn.
What's up, Dawn? You're on Super Talk.
Dawn?
Dawn's got... Dawn. All right, Dawn, we'll put you back on hold. That was... Maybe that was his take. I don't know. Maybe he's like, it's not really a take at all. AJ said, stop calling it gender affirmation care. It is not care. It is child abuse. And I agree with you. I do. 8212 texted in. He said, my son is 19, in the Army, stationed at Fort Cavazos, and he can't rent a hotel room by himself or a car before 25. But my 4-year-old could be put on a path to take sterilization drugs before puberty. That's not medicine. You're absolutely right. 1037 said Taylor Swift had Dawn killed before he could say anything. That's hilarious.
The Swifties found Dawn very quickly.
They knew he was on hold waiting to say something spicy. Is Dawn back on the hold?
I didn't get a hold of him. I put him back on hold, but I still haven't heard him.
All right. Well, the Swifties got to him. Poor Dawn. I'm sure he had a good take. I'm sure of it. But you can't cross Taylor Swift. There's too many Swifties around. You're never safe.
Now you're going to get some bad blood.
Yeah. Oh. All right. Hit the ba-dum bump.
Thank you.
What a dork. Oh, my gosh. I hate you, Mac.
I couldn't help that one, man.
All right. So the GOP debate was absolute garbage, as everybody knows. And it appears even the GOP knows that. And it's looking like they're trying to push Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia into the race. Gosh, imagine how Ron DeSantis feels. So Glenn Youngkin was asked what he thinks about being considered a viable 2024 candidate for the White House. And he said it's humbling. He said it's humbling that he's being considered. I think this is interesting. I don't view Glenn Youngkin as a reasonable presidential candidate. DeSantis, you could argue DeSantis is, because he's been in charge in Florida for a while now, and he's done some good things. Youngkin has been in charge of Virginia now for a lot less time. And while he's moving things in the right direction, I wouldn't say that he's done anything that's remarkable. Would you? But the Daily Mail reports the troubling performance by the 7 candidates who took the stage at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library has prompted financial backers to look for another option before it's too late. Too late for what? Too late for Orange Man? It's never too late for Orange Man. But additionally, some of Youngkin's top donors will be gathered at a Red Vest retreat in Virginia Beach, October 17th to 18th, with plans to push Youngkin into the 2024 race. That's according to CBS, because they are growing desperate to beat Donald Trump. Appearing on Fox News Thursday, Youngkin said he's still focused on the legislative elections, a reply he's given for months when asked about 2024, but he didn't completely close the door. He's quoted as saying, "I told you I'm totally focused on the Virginia elections, and that's what we're going to get done." But he was asked if he felt a responsibility for his party and country to jump in the race, and he talked about how he felt surprised by his rapid political rise. And I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised by his rapid political rise too. I supported Youngkin to win his race in Virginia, but has he really done much yet? I mean, Youngkin kind of said the same thing. He said, "Well, let me begin with how humbling this is. 40 years ago, I'm washing dishes and taking out the trash in the Belvedere Hotel, and today, people are throwing my name around in a national context. I'm new with this. Only one campaign under my belt. I've been governor for 21 months. I think we've really moved things in Virginia. It's encouraging that people are watching and like what we're doing, but he thinks it's a little bit too early, and I would have to say the exact same thing. However, if you keep moving things in the right direction, you look at what's happening with Ron DeSantis. He jumped in way too early, and he would have been a shoo-in in 28. He would have. He absolutely would have. Maybe Youngkin is looking at Ron DeSantis and going, "I'm not going to make that same mistake." And to that, I hope he doesn't make the same mistake, because I think that it's really hurt DeSantis's political aspirations. One guy that I think would be a shoo-in for 2028, this is just me, somebody that I really like would be Senator Josh Hawley. He doesn't get spoken about a bunch on a bunch on the national scene for president, but I think Josh Hawley is a good option for 2028. Personally, I like him a lot. I really do. Youngkin for 2028, maybe he'd have to do a little bit more. DeSantis at this point for 2028, I'm out. I am. I feel like he has sunk his political career with this run, and it could just be me. It could. I'd love to know what you think at 615-737-9986. I think it's inevitable that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee in 2024. Without a doubt. Just who else could it be? I think that it's the other side that's going to have a lot more of a come to Jesus moment about who they're going to run in 2024. I think for our side, it is Trump. But if Trump doesn't win, we would have to focus on the next election. And if they remove Joe Biden from this process, I think we're going to be looking at a tougher battle. I do. I think no matter who it is, if it's Michelle Obama, if it's Gavin Newsom, if it's Hillary Clinton even, I think it would be a tougher battle for Trump to win a general election. And if Trump can't win a general election, we'd have to move our eyes to 2028. And then who do we have? Who do we have left in the reserves? They're pushing Glenn Youngkin now for 2024, but I don't think that's reasonable. And I don't think Glenn Youngkin thinks it's reasonable. I don't think any of the people on the debate stage are reasonable for 2024. But what do you think? Joe in Oak Hill, you have a comment about our country. Joe, you're on Super Talk. What's up?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good, man. What's up?
I just want to discuss something. I'm 77 years old, retired from criminal court, and I've done a lot of other things, but the main thing I want to get to is our country's in a bad shape. It is owned by the Democrat government. The Republicans can run Jesus Christ. The Democrats can run Porky Pig. Porky Pig will be the president.
I don't know if I would support Porky Pig in a general against Jesus.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, sir, these elections don't mean anything. Your Democrat government is going to decide who they want to run the country.
I mean, I get why you're disenfranchised, but I just have to push back and say, if they were really, truly had it in the bag, they wouldn't be wasting all this money on propaganda. They wouldn't be worried about trying to replace Joe Biden. They just wouldn't. They would run Kamala and move on. I think that they're exposing themselves left and right, that they're less than sure about the next general election.
Sir, 2015, a gentleman came down the elevator, Donald Trump. The Democrats looked at him and laughed, says, who is this moron? This moron won the election and turned the country into a great country. What happened? 2020, the United States government, run by the Democrats, says, ain't no way this man's running again. And what happened?
Yeah, no, I know. We had a pandemic. They pushed mail-in ballots. They did ballot harvesting.
Who created the pandemic?
It was the NIAID funding gain-of-function research in Wuhan that it subsequently leaked from that lab. Yep.
Why did China all of a sudden during the electric year invent the coronavirus?
Well, I think they had it waiting in the wings. Listen, I mean, I totally get where you're at, but I don't think that being disenfranchised is the move. Again, they wouldn't be forced to force this propaganda down our throats. They wouldn't be forced to have to rethink running Joe Biden if all was lost. And they are rethinking if they should run Joe Biden or not. They're thinking about replacing Kamala Harris as VP, hoping that will gain some momentum. Like, if all was lost, then they wouldn't be they wouldn't be doing all the things that they're doing behind the scenes. There wouldn't be a shadow primary going on.
One more statement.
Yeah, hit me.
If Donald Trump survives all of these indictments and the American people elect this man, in 6 months, the Democrat government will assassinate Donald Trump. Thank you.
Well, I hope that's not true, Joe. I appreciate the call. Other people have echoed the same thing. Tucker Carlson said that he fears for that numerous times. And you read internet rumors that maybe it's already happened that they've attempted that. But I don't know. I sure hope not. Hey, Mark in Manchester, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Mark? You agree with Joe, who just called?
Yeah, I really do. I think he makes some really good points. I've been conservative my whole life and a Republican. I've never liked the way we do politics. I mean, the upper road is great, but when you're fighting ISIS and they're just cutting people's heads off or burning them in a cage, it takes a new approach. And that's how I see the Democrats nowadays. And that's why Trump was so effective and Obama was not, because he understood what these people were. They were animals, and he went over there and handled the business. And us as Republicans, we always go at it with soft gloves. If you don't think the poll numbers are raised by Democrats trying to get Trump to run because they want him to run, they have the best opportunity to beat Trump in a general. Let's not talk about this, getting to find out who's going to run. But in a general, they're putting their eggs all in a basket, and they got people polling that, oh, yeah, Donald Trump's it, he's the savior and all this stuff. And I like Donald Trump. I voted for him twice.
So who would you rather have run than Trump? Who would you rather have?
Well, that's a hard question because there's a big step down from Donald Trump. I mean, I think he's one of the greatest, he's top 5 presidents in my lifetime, and I'm 60 years old. So, you know, and I look, if this man could have done what he did in office against all the crap they put him through since he went down the escalator, could you imagine if we had a government that worked together with that leadership where we'd be right now? But that's not the plan. And Democrats are good for one thing. They stick together. I mean, and Republicans sit over here and fight with each other. They don't have the same mentality. You could bring a bill to the House floor with Democrats about putting a live baby in a blender, and if one of them said, hey, look, this is how we're voting, there's not a damn one of them that would not vote that way.
You're absolutely ruthless, Mark.
But it is the truth, right? And our Republicans, we fight amongst our own parties.
No, you're absolutely right.
For the trees.
You see Republicans, even in the disagreement between Gaetz and McCarthy. McCarthy's reaching out to conservative influencers online, offering them money to go against Matt Gaetz and support McCarthy. And so I agree. There's a lot of infighting, but I think that's the fear that's created because of Trump coming in and being non-establishment. Like even if Trump doesn't win, Trump is one thing, right? But he has attracted a whole group of people that are not establishment coming into politics. And you know what? If Trump doesn't win, there's going to be 10 more people behind him that are just as terrifying to the establishment. And I don't want to be disenfranchised. He could lose. He could lose the general election, and he might if it's against a Gavin Newsom or a Michelle Obama. But it doesn't mean that the movement's over, and it doesn't mean that we're not right, and it doesn't mean that we don't have a chance, because they wouldn't be spending all this money on propaganda. They wouldn't be thinking about replacing Joe Biden if we had no chance. If we had no chance, they'd be fine with running Biden. They would. They wouldn't replace him.
So I want to make two last points, and then please, it's quick, and I'll let you go. Number one, they will never let this man alone. From here on out, you've had attorney generals that ran to crucify him to get into office, which should eliminate him from even being in office.
Amen.
In my opinion.
Yep, I agree.
Right? So they are after him. Something's bad's going to happen in this country if they put this man in prison. If he loses the election, he goes to prison. There is so many people that are on that side with him that are absolutely fed up and ready to take crap into their own damn hands, because what we look at every day is so far from reality. It's a mystery to me.
No, I understand. I understand the frustration. Thanks for the call, Mark. But again, you know, I'm not advocating violence. I think that we do have a chance to win. I do, and I think that they wouldn't be demonizing Trump. They wouldn't be fighting this hard to possibly replace Joe Biden if we didn't have a shot. So I don't want anybody to be disenfranchised or think it's time to take things into our own hands. Listen, that's what they want for the optics, so that way they can scream you're an evil Republican white supremacist. The best move right now is to stay patient, keep supporting Trump in the general, and then we move forward. I think we can win. I do. I really do. It's 11:54. We're way late on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.